Foreboding in Asgard. What happened afterwards is to the shame of the gods, and mortals may hardly speak of it. Gullveig the witch came into Asgard, for Heimdall might not forbid her entrance. She came within, and she had her seat among the Aesir and the Vanir. She walked through Asgard with a smile on her face, and whence she walked and where she smiled, care and dire foreboding came. Those who felt the care and the foreboding most deeply were Bragi the poet and his wife, the fair and simple Iduna, she who gathered the apples that kept age from the dwellers in Asgard. Bragi ceased to tell his never-ending tale. Then one day, overcome by the fear and foreboding that was creeping through Asgard, Iduna slipped down Yggdrasil, the world tree, and no one was left to pick the apples with which the Aesir and the Vanir stayed their youth. Then were all the dwellers in Asgard in dismay. Strength and beauty began to fade from all. Thor found it hard to lift Mjolnir, his great hammer, and the flesh under Freya's necklace lost its radiance. And still Gullveig the witch walked smiling through Asgard, although now she was hated by all. It was Odin and Frey who went in search of Iduna. She would have been found and brought back without delay if Frey had had with him the magic sword that he had bartered for Gerda. In his search he had to strive with one who guarded the lake where Iduna had hidden herself. Bili was the one he strove against. He overcame him in the end with a weapon made of deer antlers. Ah, but it was not then, but later, that Frey lamented the loss of his sword. It was when the riders of Muspel came against Asgard, and the Vanir, who might have prevailed, prevailed not because of the loss of Frey's sword. They found Iduna, and they brought her back. But still care and foreboding crept through Asgard, and it was known, too, that the witch Gullveig was changing the thoughts of the gods. At last Odin had to judge Gullveig. He judged her and decreed her death. And only Gungnir, the spear of Odin, might slay Gullveig, who was not of mortal race. Odin hurled Gungnir. The spear went through Gullveig, but still she stood smiling at the gods. A second time Odin hurled his spear. A second time Gungnir pierced the witch. She stood livid as one dead, but fell not down. A third time Odin hurled his spear, and now, pierced for the third time, the witch gave a scream that made all of Asgard shudder, and she fell in death on the ground. I have slain in these halls, where slaying is forbidden, Odin said. Take now the corpse of Gullveig and burn it on the ramparts, so that no trace of the witch who has troubled us will remain in Asgard. They brought the corpse of Gullveig the witch out on the ramparts, and they lighted fires under the pile on which they had laid her, and they called upon Reisvalgr to fan up the flame. Reisvalgr is the giant who on heaven's edge sits in the guise of an eagle, and the winds, it is said, rush down to the earth from his outspreading pinions. Far away was Loki when all this was being done. Often now he went from Asgard, and his journeys were to look upon that wondrous treasure that had passed from the keeping of the dwarf and Bari. It was Gullveig who kept the imagination of that treasure within his mind. Now when he came back and he heard the whispers of what had been done, a rage flamed up within him. For Loki was one of those ones whose minds was being changed by the presence and whispers of the witch Gullveig. His mind was being changed to hatred of the gods. Now he went to the place of Gullveig's burning. All her body was in ashes, but her heart had not been devoured by the flames. And Loki, in his rage, took the heart of the witch and ate it. Oh, black and direful was it in Asgard, the day that Loki ate the heart that the flames could not devour.